Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm AndyRC and I have really been looking forward to today's package that has turned up. This is the XK X100 quadcopter that has been sent in for review by Banggood.com. Banggood is always my go-to place for hobby parts. Their customer service is just excellent. On face value, this looks like another toy-grade micro quadcopter, but you would be wrong. This quadcopter features full acro mode and full 3D mode, which mimics a collective pitch helicopter by reversing the propellers at around the halfway point on the throttle stick. It also has a stabilize mode, and finally it uses a hobby grade protocol. So if you have a transmitter that uses the Futaba fast technology, then there is a bind button underneath this canopy here and you can fly with your favorite hobby grade transmitter. This is the RTF version, which comes with this X4 transmitter. Now, I have been known to fly 3D helicopters in the past before I started this RC channel. The problem with that is I learned to fly 3D helicopters in mode 1. I was hoping to perform my trick on this transmitter and switch it over to mode 1, which I have tried to do, and unfortunately it doesn't work. I think there are some mixing settings in this transmitter that are specific to each axis rather than the individual pot. When I switched the throttle stick over to the other side, it became reversed. So my other options are to get a Futaba module for my old Futaba radio, or I can buy the more hobby-grade transmitter used with the XK X251 quadcopter, which can be switched to mode 1. I am not sure of the mixing capabilities of my old Futaba transmitter, so I have picked the latter option, as the Futaba modules are just as expensive as buying the transmitter from XK. The bigger transmitter costs 33 GBP, which is at my expense, but I really want to fly this micro properly in 3D mode. While I'm waiting for that transmitter to turn up though, I kind of feel like I have an opportunity here to see if a Mode 1 pilot can fly a Mode 2 aircraft in 3D. Before I do that though, let's go and take a look at what you get in the package. We have the quadcopter, which has to be the lightest one of its size for sure. It only weighs 28 grams without the battery and 37 grams with the battery. That is lighter than a Hubsan H107D without its battery. And it looks like it's got 8mm motors, so this thing is going to be an absolute rocket. It needs to be, though, to offer that quick inverted flying. I wonder how this thing will fare with that Hyperion camera mounted to it. Perhaps that's a future video. The quadcopter's frame has its circuit built into it, and it has holes cut out of it to make it as light as possible. You also get this canopy that fits over the top of it. It reminds me of the canopies that you get on 3D micro helicopters, which have these rubber grommets in the side to hold it to the frame. I'm going to be taking this off, as I have a feeling that my Mode 2 3D flying skills are not going to fare well with it. With my past experience of these canopies, the rubber grommets fall out easily, so that's another excuse to keep it off. It comes with a 250 mAh battery to make it as light as possible. You get a spare set of inverted propellers, a dual charger, and in the RTF package we have the transmitter. It takes 4 AA batteries. The controls are fairly simple. There's no arming function, so be careful to switch the transmitter on with the throttle down. The aircraft is in stability mode as standard. This is a repurposed transmitter, so as far as I can see, the top right shoulder button does not function. To enter 3D mode, you first have to go into acro mode. You do this by pressing down on the right-hand control stick. At this point, the quad will no longer level itself and it will fly like an RC helicopter. Then, to enter 3D mode, you press down on the top left-hand shoulder button, and at that point, the middle of the throttle stick becomes zero throttle, and the bottom of the throttle stick becomes full throttle when the quadcopter is upside down, and full up on the throttle stick is full throttle when the quadcopter is the right way around. Like a true collective pitch helicopter, the pitch, throttle and rudder is all reversed when the quadcopter is upside down, and there is no self-leveling. So it's not for beginners, this mode. However, I don't think I'd rule it out as a quadcopter entirely for experts only, because it has that stability mode with the option to go into 3D mode if you have the skills. The battery is using a Lossy connector, so I can use my hobby grade charger to charge it. There's not a lot of room for a bigger battery, as this fits in snug already. Perhaps a 300 mAh battery will fit. There is this fin underneath. I was trying to figure out if it was for stability, but I think it's so that you can hold it when the props are always spinning in that 3D mode. To fit a bigger battery is fairly easy, as I'm not using the canopy anyway. You can unscrew the battery plate and then use a rubber band or a Velcro tie to secure a different battery in place. I have loads of these from my other micros, so this will help me to film the flights. I will be using the stock battery as well as these 500 mAh Hubsan batteries. We have that bind button here too for those who already have Futaba gear. I think if they had made it compatible with FR Sky, it would have been a more popular protocol to use. Let's go and take it for a fly and see what happens. Don't worry, as soon as my other transmitter turns up, I'm going to give a proper 3D demo of this because I think it's going to be superb. In stability mode, this thing has so much punch. Even with the heavier battery, it flies round like a high-rate micro quadcopter, so perhaps beginners need to be wary of this. When I flick it into acro mode, it becomes a completely different beast. I try a few rolls, and it seems that the roll rate is fairly docile compared to an acro quad. It takes some height to do a roll, but there is a reason for this. It's the same with my collective pitch helicopter, that when the prop direction switches to fly in 3D mode, a higher rate would be too twitchy. The moment you switch into 3D mode, the lower rate makes sense, and despite me being a Mode 1 pilot, I'm finding it quite easy here to do rolls and flips. When the quadcopter gets to the upside down position, I just have to move the throttle ever so slightly back to keep the quad airborne while it's inverted. Big movements on the throttle stick will cause erratic flying, and it won't be long before it's in the ground. For the moment, rolls and flips are about the limit of my ability in Mode 2. However, I was extremely surprised how fun I was finding it, which makes me want that Mode 1 transmitter to turn up even sooner. The quadcopter definitely suits its native 250 mAh battery, which has a lot more punch than using the 500 mAh battery, but it does work fine with both. As with my small collective pitch helis, as the battery starts to drain, you have less punch into the flight. This is pretty normal, so if you are wanting to impress, then get those maneuvers in early. The flight time with the 500 mAh battery was about 6 minutes, and with the 250 mAh battery it was about 4 minutes. And this really does depend on how much 3D you do. It takes a lot to start and stop these motors so quick. So there you go, that is my review of the XK X100 3D micro quadcopter. I really love it and I can't wait for the Mode 1 transmitter to turn up. When it does, I'll be sure to make more videos of it. I'll put a link in the description if you wish to buy it. As I say, you can buy both RTF and BNF models. As always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.